Hi everyone, welcome to Coffee with Kai here on Hello Doctor PH. My name is Kai Magsanok. I'm the editor-in-chief of Hello Doctor Philippines. So with me today is someone I met in 2014. I was still with Yahoo Philippines and she was with a telco, one of the biggest telco companies in the Philippines, and she really took good care of me in the sense that what I was working on as a lifestyle journalist, they really supported she and her team. And then she moved on to the food industry. And then last year, through LinkedIn, I saw that she had already moved into. I'm learning more about the story today from her, and she will share more with us today. She is now with this organization that I'm also seeing other contacts on LinkedIn say that they're working with MindNation. There, I said it. So we'll learn more about it from her later. But for now, let's talk about mental health. Um, Cat Triviño is not a doctor, but she is a mental health advocate. She has her own story. She's not speaking from the perspective of someone who doesn't get it. That's what I love about having this conversation with her today. Maybe we'll have that clinical conversation later, but let's talk about, how you and I are affected by mental health. So Kat, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Kai. Thank you for the introduction. Like listening to how we met and the journey so far, it really shows how far we've gone, and we've gone through many mental health challenges. At that point, we probably didn't even recognize them as mental health challenges before or as stresses. So it's good to have this conversation now, and thanks for giving me the stage to talk about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, just seeing you now, Kat, I'm so proud. I feel like a proud ate or older sister, no? Seeing how much you've grown as a woman. That shows what you've been through, because adversity builds character, right? So it
Yes.
really builds us, okay? And that's why our state of mental health is really important, how we understand it and how we manage it. So first things first, let's I can get this from the internet, I know, but I want to hear your own definition. What is mental health?
Okay. For me, mental health is our overall state of well being. When we're talking about mental health, I would always say that there is no health without mental health. Doesn't matter if you're physically fit, if you're not balanced with in your well-being, you're going to be having trouble in life. The overall state of well-being is that balance, is that flow. We're humans with a wide range of emotions, so from happy and sad to ecstatic and depressed, and the overall state of well-being again is that balance, and being able to live our lives of good health and happiness, and being able to cope and deal with the normal stresses in our lives, in the workplace, and in our own communities.
Mm, okay, got it, understood. So thank you for that, Kat. Why and how important is mental health?
Right. It If you're talking about it in the perspective of an individual, a
Mm,
lot of us will think that mental health is something that you really just would disregard because it's not important. It's your brain. I can just think about happy thoughts. I can just push it aside. It's not something you see physically. You look in the mirror and you see there will be some cases, and it does show, studies do show that poor mental health does characterize itself in physical aspects like our inability to sleep, and it shows also in our immunity. We become more immune to diseases, to the flu, maybe even to COVID, because of poor mental health. And I would like to think that mental health, or being able to develop that mental resilience, is highly needed for us to face the challenges that are set before us. Because life is really filled with difficulties. Life is filled with different challenges every day. And that health is our ability to cope with it. when you have poor mental health, when you don't value it, enough, and you don't find that balance and understand what holistic well-being or wellness means, you will crumble. You will have poor relationships with not only with yourself, with others, and it can lead to more serious conditions, more serious mental health concerns that will debilitate you. And its worst, at its worst case, of course, it can also be at risk to your life.
Yeah.
A lot of suicide is the top three cause of death globally. Nobody talks about it. There's so much talk about suicide, about cancer, about cardiovascular diseases, and they're also part of the top two. But the number three,
Yeah.
you have mental health, suicide, mental health concern as the number three, and nobody's talking about it simply because it's taboo, because it's highly stigmatized. Nobody wants to talk about personal problems. They think that it's something that's small and petty.
Yeah.
But when you realize that it's all deeply connected with your quality of your life, the ability to achieve success, and of course the ability to interact and connect with others and find purpose in your life, you realize that, oh my goodness, why am I not thinking about my mental health? Why am I not setting healthy boundaries? Why am I not making that the number one priority for me?
Okay. How bad is it, Kat? How bad is it, especially with the pandemic? I mean, we're reading it, but from your latest data, how bad is the mental health? I think I saw in passing on LinkedIn that someone posted how mental health is also now, illness. The mental illness is now also an epidemic on its own. I don't know how true that is, right? So let's look at the data. What data do you have about the state of mental health around the world and in the Philippines?
Right. And I mental health concerns, like I said, the data that I told you, that suicide being the number three top cause of morbidity, not only around the world, also in the Philippines, also that's a true case. And that's even before the pandemic. So it's already been serious. It's something that people need to have been putting as a priority even before any of these crazy things have been happening. But more so now, because there's a disruption already with the way of life. People are caught unprepared, and if you don't know how to cope, you're really going to start realizing that there are things that will bother you mentally and emotionally, and it can cause many of us to crumble. It can cause many of us to, it will debilitate us from bouncing back and from being better versions of ourselves. When you think about stresses, kasi they're all in your head. They're all these emotions or information that you need to allow to let flow through you and understand, take a step back and understand what the problem is. A lot of us were not built like that. A lot of us did not also grow, or did not also live with being able to be that mentally resilient. So you're gonna be seeing a lot of things, a lot of people talking about how they found out just during this pandemic how important their mental health is.
Right.
And we see that in the data as well. The survey, it was here in the Philippines. Yes, there's a survey that was conducted up until around April. Up until around April lang to na the cause of the suicide incidents rose by 25.7% in 2020 compared to the previous year. That's 25.7%. And it can be because of so many things. Uncertainty, the fear, loss of lives and loved ones, loss of income, and you know this. There's so many things to be anxious and scared of, and a lot of these people who have not been able to or don't know how to cope, don't know how to move forward, or are just realizing they keep brushing their emotions, or they keep brushing their mental health under the rug. They unfortunately fall into this kind of concerns. And of course, there's other factors like if you're coming from a toxic home, and now work or going out used to be an escape for you, used to be something that made you feel balanced. Now everybody's in the same space, and not everyone has the luxury of their own rooms or open spaces. A lot of times they're cramped. You have 20, 30 people in one small house. Those are things that heavily contribute to mental health. In MindNation, we also do pulse surveys, and that's part of how we operate, because we understand that mental health is something that needs to be customized and catered to the different needs of employees. There are organizations that they like the company culture of working long hours. There are organizations that don't. There are organizations that are more honest to their and more trusting to their managers. Organizations that they really have that big gap between my boss and myself. Mm-hmm. And so we do these surveys to understand what the company culture is, so that we can provide the best fit services for them. Do they need a lot of psychologist consultations? Do they need well-being coaches? Or do they need trainings in mental health first aid? All of these things. Now, with the survey, we've actually compiled that, and I'll share the white paper with you as well, separately. We have noticed that the huge number of people, of employees that are unproductive each week because of the mental health concerns. You have three reasons for this unproductivity. And number one is because of mental health concerns, they experience presenteeism. And being present and not being actually there, parang you're just lost, you spend hours just worried, is one cause of concern, and it costs the company also. But also absenteeism. And absenteeism is constantly being absent or late because of mental health concerns as well. And then you have talent loss, when they just quit because they can't handle it anymore. They start to realize that, I'm not getting enough sleep. I'm not getting the kind of rest or the kind of care that I want to in this organization. And all of these, per 100 employees, cost organizations up to 700,000 pesos each year. And these are things that leaders should take note of, because they now see how the deep connection of mental well-being, overall well-being, to the bottom line. Traditionally, and we both know this, there's a clear divide. Like, you cannot bring your personal problems to the workspace. Once you air out and share that you have mental health concerns, or there's something, they think of you as a liability, and they're gonna say like, oh, maybe you're not fit for the job, maybe you're not, emotions should always be out the door. But now more than ever, we're stuck at home, the lines are blurred. You are a mother, and you can't separate. Usually, syempre, when we go to work, when we have events, parang the mother role takes a backseat, diba? Okay, you're on your work hat first, a writer hat. Now you don't, because you're just at home, and the responsibilities of being a mother is at par equal to the responsibilities of being a good employee. And employers can't separate that. You can't say now, during these work hours, you're not allowed to be a mom. You're not allowed to put priority on what your son will have for lunch or whatever. And that's the same thing for a lot of people. Whether it doesn't have to be a parent, maybe you're a daughter, or you're a caretaker, maybe you're by yourself and you're also balancing your passions. Right. And like I mentioned earlier, mental health is the balance of that. You're able to balance it. It's not a 50-50 all the time. So the pandemic has really pushed talaga the seriousness and how important it is to have that, to strike that balance. And while a lot of our doctors, a lot of our experts are trying to figure out the best solutions to the pandemic, to COVID, we're now, and we will continue to see
Right.
the effects, the psychological effects that this pandemic has brought to everyone.
Right.
Where we are going to be seeing that, because there's no vaccine for it. There's no jab that will allow you to like, oh, I feel better.
Yeah.
The whole 2 years, the whole
Yeah.
1-2 years of being isolated didn't affect me. That's impossible. And when you're exposed to that chronic stress, when you're exposed to that uncertainty the whole time, and that kind of becomes your normal, it's hard to just forget about it and then just go back to normal.
Yeah.
So we're dealing with it step by step, and kids are really one of the hardest hit here. And they are, it's still at the developing stages. They're still trying to understand how the world works, and they're also hit with this curveball, and it's most definitely going to affect everyone mentally. And it's important that we are able to build those healthy boundaries and understand how we can proactively reach for a thriving or a flourishing state of mental health during this time.
Right. Somehow that makes me, in a way, I feel glad for those of us who are able to come out and acknowledge and say, hey, you know what? I'm managing this disorder. At least I know how to ask for help, when to ask for help, and who, right? But it makes me worry about those who have been in denial, or or they are prevented by their immediate environment, like their families, from talking about it, because sa pamilya natin walang ganyan. You know what I mean? And those who really care more about image rather than what's really happening at the very core of a being, right? So, well, uh, for everyone who's watching, there's Cat Triviño of MindNation. We will learn more about that later, but find them on Facebook, Google them, and reach out to them right now. Okay. So, Kat, you were talking about, thank you for sharing those statistics, especially about mental health and the workplace. Okay. So, my question is it a disability? Right? If I have a mental health disorder or illness, can I ask for example, a PWD ID? Am I considered a PWD? Um, and yeah, I guess on the part of the employers, if someone comes out with that, should you appreciate it or should you judge it? I mean, we know the obvious answer, but please articulate it for me from the research and all the work you've done.
Right. Thanks for asking that. And again, just to reiterate, I'm not a doctor. And if you feel that you do have mental health concerns, it's best to seek advice of a psychologist or a psychiatrist to properly diagnose you, and they will be able to give you advice if, oh, do you need a PWD? Can you get one? But according to the law naman, like persons with disabilities, either long-term physical, mental, intellectual, or sensory impairments, all of those are valid for PWD cards.
Okay.
And just because it really differs, because there are people with seasonal depression that they only feel it for like a certain number of months, or for example, they only feel it during Christmas. It's up to of course, the expert to tell you that, you do need a PWD card. Like to some extent, for example, I've not personally availed of it. I know that the process is fairly easy. And I always have felt like, to some extent, it's not that serious. It's not that serious. Pero I've started. For those that don't know, I was diagnosed with clinical severe clinical depression in 2018, and it's really debilitated my life in that way. And to some extent, like, because of the therapy, because of the medications, I'm learning to better cope with it. But that's the thing. Like, part of the medications is that I'm, of course, if it makes me sleepy, it doesn't really put me in a more focused mindset a lot of times because of the side effects. So that will be harmful if I drive, if I do daily tasks, diba? So those are like some of the ways a PWT card can help you. Like, there you're able to access, of course, the easiest access points, etc. But again, like, I've yet to claim my own. I'll as soon as I do that, maybe we can do another talk about how to do that. But again, please always seek the help and the advice of the experts.
Right. Okay. So cat is something to be ashamed of. I know. Sometimes it's not the person thinking, it's not the patient. It's the people around the patient who are ashamed,
Absolutely.
right? So is it something, if I was the person with the disorder, should I be ashamed? Does that mean I'm a bad person? Right? Is there something wrong with me just because I have it? I'm gonna ask talaga the questions I know others feel, but
Yeah.
they cannot
Yeah.
articulate. Yeah.
Yeah. That's honestly, that's the first thing that I asked the psychologist when he
Mm.
started giving me medication. The first thing I said was, like, I was crying, and I said, like, am I broken?
Mm.
And can I fix it? And he says, like, honestly, to some extent, it depends on you. It depends if you're able to really set those healthy habits,
Mhm.
because of course the the depression, you have the illness. What matters now, it's good that you're aware, and it's good, but the next step, and possibly the hardest, is being able to cope with that, because that's there. It's now you have to know and be aware of things that are triggering you, be honest with your feelings, know when you need to take a step back. And tama what you said kanina, eh? But like, to some extent, those that are feeling this way, they're more aware with what's happening, more in tune with their feelings, and people who are, I would put air quotes, normal, and set it aside. Everybody has mental health, and nobody, I wouldn't say there's someone that's absolutely immune to the stresses whatsoever and a happy-go-lucky lang. To some extent, of course, if you're exposed to chronic stress, and if you don't know how to be resilient, you're really going to be at risk with mental health concerns. But it's nothing to be ashamed of. When you start feeling this way, the stigma is that, oh, baliw ka, you can't function, you're not in the right mindset, and it differs. I need everybody to understand that, like, it's a spectrum of mental health concerns, and
Right.
to an extent, if you're able to recognize, understand what your triggers are, and set those healthy boundaries, you can actually function so much better than
Right.
normal people,
Right.
because you have respect for yourself, because you know what your limits are, and everybody has limits.
Mm.
And that's something I personally am proud of. I love, and I'm really proud that I'm in tune with my feelings. I'm able to take a step back when I need to. I don't push it.
Yeah.
And when I share it with others, you'll never know who else is hiding it. You'll never
Mm.
know, because 2 out of 5 people, that's 2 out of 5 people suffer mental health concerns. That's a big number. If we had 3 more people here, that's 2 of us already that have mental health concerns, and you never know
Yeah.
who else is experiencing this. They may be hiding it. They may be, you don't know. Nobody knows each other's story to like the full extent.
Yeah.
If I am more honest, and if I say, hey, Kai, this is what I've been experiencing. This is what I've been feeling. What's the risk? The risk is, he's gonna brush it aside, or is this person going to take a step back and think, like, you know what? Maybe I'm not. I finally, there's someone that I can talk to. There's someone that understands what I'm feeling. And that can change a person's life dramatically.
Yeah.
Being able to know that there's someone out there that understands or is in the same level or plane as you is life changing. And I learned that also when I experienced my mental health concern. I was in denial about it up until someone called me up and said, you know what, I want to know if you're in the right mindset or if in the right space. Ako naman si in denial, 'di ba? Akala ko in the right mindset. I was like, sige, what's up? What's your problem? And she told me everything that was going on, and she's like, you know, I wanna seek therapy. I wanna seek medication. This is what I want to do. And she was explaining what was happening with her. And while I was listening to her, of course, I wanted to be a friend to her. I was starting to recognize, like, wait a minute, I'm not feeling well too. Maybe I should also check in. Who's the doctor? Maybe you can also recommend me. And it led to that. It led to my discovery of being able to seek proper help. It led to the discovery of understanding and being in tune with my mental health. And you'll never know who you come across up and whose life you're going to change forever by doing that, by being honest and completely um, I don't think proud is the word. It's just honest, being yourself.
Yeah, yeah. And that's being free also. Because in my case, I was diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder
Yeah.
more than 10 years ago. And of course, when you say one is OC, diba, we make fun of it. I make sure everything is aligned, diba? Literally.
Yeah.
Um, that the result, the offshoot is perfectionism. And then, of course, when things aren't perfect, and if you know me, my life is a series of one fantastic failure after another, that brings in the depression, right? So the depression is actually an offshoot of the OCD. But the person talking to you right now, Kat, is someone who realized that, okay, I'm OCD. Before I start working, I lay out all the colors of my pens and then diretso na ako. I can work straight, right? I'm OCD, I'm detail-oriented. That makes me an excellent project manager, right?
Yes.
So when I spoke with, hi Chris Clark, our Chief Growth Officer here at Hello Doctor, at Hello Health Group, in my first interview, I disclosed it. I have OCD, and that makes me a great project manager. Okay.
Oh.
You know, when I finally got diagnosed, because it was bound to happen, right? I knew that the root was OCD, but there were going to be other effects because life is not kind all the time. And then when the doctor said, congratulations, you have what Picasso and Van Gogh, he said other artists or other creative people, what they had. Then I said, what is it? So it's clinical depression, you know, and it's not emotion, right? That's one thing that makes me sad sometimes. And people, you know, maybe that's another conversation altogether, Kat. But when people mistake sad for depressed, we also have to, maybe there are overlaps, but there are also differences so that we don't misuse the term. But yeah, I super agree with you. I know how to turn it around so that it works in my favor. And when I see that it starts to work against me, I do that healthy detachment, that step back that you were talking about. That I also learned from all these years of mindfulness exercises and self-awareness. Okay.
Yes.
So even if we don't,
I want to just like squeeze in something to that. I feel like also when you are more honest, you get to automatically filter people that you don't need in your life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because like if they don't understand, and if they're gonna be constantly like give you that mentality that it's not important or your mental health is not important, you don't need them. It's an automatic filter. And that's great because what other value, and it's not being selfish, what other value are they able to give in your life in a more positive way,
right,
if that's their mindset? You don't need to be exposed to that. And I'm saying that for everyone. That's your family member, that's your best friend. If they don't empathize, and if they don't take enough time to learn and understand, at the first few meetings, if they talk about it and they take a step back, maybe okay, you can say that it's them being naive, that's fine. But if that constantly becomes a habit and
Yeah.
they don't recognize and respect your boundaries, even if that's your boss, take a step back. You don't need to be there. You don't need that environment.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, you become more. It becomes very clear to you who the people are. Di ba yung the gaslighters that they say, no? They warp
Yes.
your reality, making you feel like there's something wrong because you are the way you are. So
Yes.
yeah, thank you for this condition, right? I am able to determine who those are, and it really feels like the trash took itself out, Kat. Now, what I shared with you that happened just this morning, actually, that was my feeling. But I was struggling because not everyone felt the same way that I did about, the news that we got
Yeah,
this morning.
absolutely. Yeah,
But you know
absolutely.
what? I'm going to have my bedtime. No more revenge procrastination, and then healthy amount of sleep, healthier body, right? And then a healthier
Absolutely.
mind to do the work that we are doing here right now.
Yeah.
Hello Health is about democratizing healthcare information, Kat. We want everyone to have access to the right information, medically validated, medically reviewed data. So yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay. So question, how do you know, Kat, sometimes if it's your mind or it's your body, when, say for example, you woke up and you're not feeling well, how do you determine for yourself, you're self-managing now, you're self-assessing, you're self-aware, how do
Yeah.
you determine, is it my mind or is it my body and I'm really feeling a physical toll from life?
Right.
How do you do that?
Right. Well, okay, again, not expert advice, but well, I would say it as a mental health advocate and as someone like that's constantly dealing with the challenges of depression. I make sure to I follow the Maslow's hierarchy of needs actually.
Oh my gosh.
The
Yeah.
the important thing, the base, of course, our base needs, the food, there our physical health, everything. All of these have a checklist. Like, okay, did I drink enough water today? Those are the basic stuff. Because honestly, those things are the one that base at the bottom. That's the easiest to do.
It's very
That's the easiest.
helpful. Yeah, yeah,
Diba? That's
yeah.
the easiest to do. Drink water, get enough sleep, eat the food that you like, eat the food that's healthy, walk around, breathe, all of these basic stuff. And when you checked all those out, okay, yes, I drank enough water today, I got enough sleep last night, etc., etc., etc. If it's not working, then maybe it's something that's in your head. That's something deeper that has to be understood. And then when I'm at the very top of that, it's like, oh, what is my purpose? And all of these belongingness and all of these things. In MindNation, we have the different dimensions of well-being. We have physical, social, emotional, mental, and cultural. And when we talk about physical, that's your most fundamental. It's not just your body stuff, but also things that make us feel secure. Are you secure at home? Are you secure financially? And these are things that you think are not part of mental health, but they are. They play a very big role. And being able to check those boxes and understanding, okay, even with depression, when I got diagnosed with depression, he didn't already start by asking like, maybe you need to find your purpose. Maybe you need to find like create a mission vision board of things that you want to be so that you can look forward. And no, he started off by saying, get some sleep. Get some
Sleep.
sleep.
Yeah, yeah,
Diba?
yeah.
Because your sleep is your mind's and the body's way of recharging. And when you're already operating on fumes and just like not having it's really hard and difficult to answer like the harder questions, like what's your purpose in life.
Yeah, that's
Just
true.
so parang when it's hard to get some sleep, he gave me like things to help me sleep, gave me like a list of, okay, drink milk, warm water, eat nuts, all of these things to improve sleep. And then we started from there. When I got enough sleep, like he monitored me for 2 weeks, just on sleeping medications and just having a balanced diet. Because during my depression, the peak of that, like I felt that the comfort food was the only thing that was keeping me together, and they were not helping because the only thing I was ever eating was instant pancit canton. That's it. Because I couldn't be bothered to cook a full course meal. I couldn't be bothered to do anything. I liked it. It tasted good and everything. It's so hard to do something that's beneficial for you when you're at your lowest.
That's true.
And so parang sabi niya, okay, just go back to basics. Think of yourself like right now, you're an infant and you just need to take care of everything. Kasi when you're crying, like, I don't even know what it's about. I don't even know. So I'm just like, okay, things that baby needs, just water, sleep, food, cleaning, all of those stuff. Just think of yourself like a little child that you need to take care of yourself at the very beginning. And then if all of those are checked out, you're able to have more clarity and see like, okay, so this is my problem. You're able to introspect more because you're fed, because you feel healthy, because you're hydrated, because you got enough sleep. So always a rule of thumb for me is start with the physical stuff. That's the easiest, and it really, really helps you with being more mindful as well.
Okay. Well, Kat, thank you. You've shared so much of yourself in this conversation. Thank you so much. I think that's the best segue to MindNation and how you put it together and what you are here for, right? So please go ahead and share with us what MindNation is about and how can people come to your organization for help with their mental health concerns.
Sure. Well, I started MindNation together with several partners, and they were all very wonderful because we were all aligned with the mission, and we recognize these partners. They've been mental health advocates for a long time because they had background in psychology, etc., and they also had their own mental health journeys. And at that time, I wasn't even classifying myself yet as a mental health advocate because I was going through it, and I was like, I can't be an advocate of mental health and like not practice what I preach. Right. So I took the time, but while I was going through that journey, I was realizing the big problems, the big gaps in mental health in the Philippines, and I realized that was the same globally. HMO cards don't have mental health benefits. It's not covered in your employee benefits. Right. And it's the psychologist sessions, psychiatrist sessions, they are dang expensive. they're up to 3,000, 4,000 an hour.
Yeah.
And the medications, there's something else. I was raking up 15,000 per month just on medications. And none of those I can reimburse. None of those, because the thought and the stigma was that this is your choice. And to some extent, it was even explained to me na, it's like similar to having cosmetic surgery. You're going to be like prescribed medications for pain, but we're not allowed to reimburse that because that's your choice. And that was the thinking of people with regards to mental health in the workplace. It's your choice if you're not able to create that boundary between home and work, and it's your choice if you're not able to control your emotions in the workplace. And I realized, like, why are they doing this? That's not right. That's not right, because I'm functioning. I know I was a good market. I am a good marketer. I knew that I was providing for the organization. It's just that right now I can't. I'm going through something, and it's hard to separate that. I want to be a better person for the organization.
Right.
And if they're going to reimburse me for my flu, if they're going to allow me to take leaves for more serious conditions, or for not being physically well, they should be able to do that also with mental health.
Right.
And so I took a step back and I realized that, okay, the technical stuff were there, like not being able to reimburse, the lack of a mental health policy in the organization. But did you know that in the Philippines, you are required, it's a law for you to have mental health policies at work. It's law. And nobody's why is nobody following it?
Yeah.
And also, I a lot of this, the reason why there's no shift in the idea or the belief within the organization is because the leaders don't find the connect between taking care of one, investing in mental health, and the bottom line, which is why we did those studies, which is why we had the surveys, like how much time are they being productive, how much talent are they losing, how much money are they losing in exchange for poor mental health, or
Right.
for not being able to value mental health. Because a lot of these leaders, organizations, they want to see numbers, they want to see data.
Data.
And sure,
Exactly.
diba, like put it in a presentation for me. I don't want it in concept. I
Yeah.
want it I want there to be proof that there is a connection. So, okay, let's have the surveys. Let's make it data driven. Let's show them that the culture of having a psychologically safe workplace actually does so much wonders to an employee's productivity, motivation, and they're able to do and function at a more optimal level when they're mentally well. You think that that's supposed to
True.
be something that's automatic, but it's not.
Yeah.
And a part of uh, if we if it was easy for our organization, we would have been rolling around in money already. But we're not, and it's constantly, of course, a battle of like just proving to organizations and leaders that it is beneficial, it is important. So we started MindNation late 2019, even before the pandemic, and we started off by providing B2B services to organizations, providing talks and trainings for leaders, for members. I personally also do the talks about mental resilience and overall mental health. And we provide psychologists and psychiatrist consultations via teletherapy, and also well-being coaches for those that are, it's not debilitating naman, but they do want someone to guide them. So we have them. And we have 24/7 chat, the 24/7 chat on Facebook Messenger that's available for everyone. They can also take well-being quizzes there to see what state of mental health they're in, if they're okay, if they're thriving, or if they're burned out. And we're able to provide the services to for you to cope as well. So we provide, we have podcasts, we have meditation and mindfulness practices in our website, worksheets, anything that you need to be able to bring yourself back to be a better person, mind, body, and soul. We provide those, and we've been able to partner with amazing organizations like the Mental Health PH, Philippine Mental Health Association, with Senator Risa's office, who's the proponent of the mental health law in the Philippines.
Mhm.
We've been able to provide free psychologist consultations during the time, I wouldn't say at the peak because we're still kind of at the peak of the pandemic, but at the start of the pandemic. And we now grew from 4 people at the start of 2019 in the Philippines. We're now over 50 and are already available. Our services are already available all across Asia and the Middle East. So it's been a good and amazing journey, and that growth would have not been possible if we did not have, of course, the our scientific board of advisors, our experts as well, and people that are just willing to help out and contribute to the advocacy. We're not an NGO, of course, we're for profit, but a lot of the things that we do is driven by the need now that isn't being addressed. And in at the crux of everything, we want to be able to make mental health valued, supported, and a priority for everyone, individuals and organizations. And hopefully, in the long run, we come out of this pandemic, we come out of our challenges a lot stronger and a lot more resilient in to be able to face all the other things that are to come. Because I'm not a fortune teller, and I'm not here to say that there will be no more pandemic ever in the future. But just like with any other challenge, we hope that we learn from this, and we are able to move forward and set the necessary things we in place for us to be more prepared. And that's how mental health is and how it should be. And we hope that MindNation is able to be with you guys every step of the way.
Okay. Well, Kat, thank you so much for your time. It's a Saturday, but you agreed to spend time with us to talk about this. This is just the start, okay, of conversations, more talks about mental health. You have Hello Doctor, the Hello Doctor team behind you. And of course, if the other markets are watching our family, there's Hello Doctor in Indonesia, in Taiwan, in Southeast Asia. Okay. You guys, you want to reach out to Kat, let me know. This episode is for all the friends we lost. It's for all the friends we lost. And for everyone who's watching, who still haven't found their power in acknowledging that they have a mental health condition doesn't make them a bad person. In fact, it makes them even more special. Because like the person I'm talking to right now is, I don't know, lifetimes different from the girl I had lunch with at Hungry Hippo in BGC. And at that time, you were securing this cookie from Starbucks while we were talking. You had this cookie from Starbucks. Yeah. Anyway, so thank you, Cat Triviño of MindNation. Thank you for that. Thank you to everyone who watched and tuned